Romans 8:14-16, Paul writes again the same phrase. Those who are led by the Spirit of God are sons of God. For you did not receive a spirit that makes you a slave again to fear. Again, you're using the slavery image. But you received the spirit of sonship. And by him, Christ, we cry, Abba, Father. That this isn't just something Jesus cried out in his moment of testing. It is the prayer and the cry of our hearts as well, that we have a heavenly Father. Jesus links God to the Father throughout the New Testament, reestablishing a truth that Satan had driven from people, that God is near, and that he doesn't come as a judge. He comes as a father. And God has an expectation of what it means to be a father. When the word father's used, the word father is meant to convey a love relationship, a serving relationship, where the father does what the father does. If we had to develop the job description, we would say that the basic job of a father is to love the mother and love the children. Would it not be? I mean, at the very basics, if they couldn't do anything else, we would expect a good father to love the mother and love the children. Well, God actually says that's the job of a father, because as God the Father, in the Old Testament, time and time again, you will see that God has a special place in his heart for the fatherless and the widows. What were widows and orphans missing? Fathers. That's what they were missing. And God says, my heart is drawn to them because as a father, I am called and drawn to meet their need. That is the definition of a father. And as a matter of fact, in the New Testament, we read in James 1:27, religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to go to church on Sundays, to give a good offering, to sing the songs really loud, right? Is that what God considers true religion? No. What God says, this is true religion. This is pure. To look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. That God puts definition to it and says, listen, if you want to understand what a father does, this is what a father does. This is what a father does. A father cares for those who need it. And he specifically identifies widows and orphans because they're the fatherless ones. The reason a widow was in trouble was because she was out of her father's household, and when her husband died, she had no resource. It was dangerous for a child to grow up in a culture that fathers owned everything without a dad. And God comes along and says, listen, I find the situation that needs a father, and that's where I step in. If that's his call to those that are fatherless and the widows, how much more, dads, is God calling us to care for those who have a father and the wives who have husbands? If his care is that God's interacting for those who don't have, how much more is he calling us to be faithful in the role he's given us to do the very thing so that those children will not be fatherless, and so those wives will not be widowed? There's a challenge in this. God is Father, and he says this is what it means to be a father. A father lays down his life for his children, sacrifices, and shows love. For God so loved the world, it says in John 3:16, Jesus saying this, for God so loved the world that he gave. That's the description.